AskReddit by BlazTwin. Never argue with an idiot. They will drag you down to their level and beat you with experience. What's your best real life example of this? When I tell people to just reboot your computer and it will fix all their problems, and yet they won't because they said if you wait long enough it will shut down, when in reality it only goes to sleep. Then when I tell them they have to completely shut it down, they look at me like I'm an idiot and say they did. I tell them it seems like it, but it only went to sleep. They argue back. Just tell them the issue is caused by a buildup of static in their desktop's power cord, and they need to unplug it and whack it against the ground to discharge all the static. Doesn't help with laptops obviously. This was best said. Never wrestle with pigs. You both get dirty and the pig likes it. George Bernard Shaw. There's also the playing chess with a pigeon version. Arguing is pointless if you do not agree on a set of facts. This very relevant in philosophy and maths, but worryingly often becoming the problem in real life. Removed. This is one of the things that drives me crazy in today's world. So many people think that they win an argument when the other person goes silent. I actually just had this discussion last week with someone at work. He was telling me about a win that he had arguing with someone online because after 50 comments, they disappears. My take is that you win an argument by having the other side agree that your point seems more valid than their original position. Just frustrating someone with your immobility isn't a win in my book. A toddler can do that. You win an argument by changing someone else's views. Had an employee sign a NDA about an upcoming art installation that had investors. He told everyone. He argued with me the NDA only meant he couldn't disclose anything with the people in the company. Former employee, I hope. Was arguing with this dude about something math related. He didn't know how to read a study which involved statistics, claimed he was in multiple AP math classes, tried saying that I probably don't even know basic integration, gave me a common integration problem, he wrote it but forgot the minus sign, making it unsolvable. I pointed it out and he edited the comment to make it correct, told him that some people can see when you edit comments. He claimed that he just capitalized a letter on a don and on. Deleted. I'm showing my age here, but I used to work for an estate agency, and we had sales offices set up at the site of large new housing developments. Our primary method of communication was fax. One of the sales associates telephoned our office to say that the fax machine had run out of paper. No problem, I said, one of the guys is coming your way later for a house tour, I'll give him a box of paper to give to you. We then had an almost 20-minute long argument when they kept insisting, no, you just send me a blank fax because I need the paper, it will just come out of my fax machine. It was like trying to nail jelly to a tree. Difficult, irritating, and it achieved nothing. Anytime I've tried to explain marginal tax rates to an employee, that urban legend absolutely needs to die. So many people completely fuck themselves over for absolutely no reason because they heard someone else repeating it. Sometimes it can indeed work that way if you're on benefits or food stamps or similar, but taxes? No. Just no. Whoever came up with that lie has done a lot to keep the rich rich and the poor poor, at least a little bit. Convincing poorer and middle class people that the government will screw them over if they get paid more, and that the boss is helping them out by paying them less. And people are still falling for it to this day. Social media debates. You won't convince someone they're wrong, you're screaming at a brick wall. Yeah, my first response was going to be Reddit or Facebook. It's truly insane how many people will keep going at you assuming fuck all when it's not something you actually said. People have the chance to read back what someone actually said, yet they don't, and fuel their hatred for you on their worst assumption of what you said. I swear 90% of my downvotes are exactly that. However, I did have some very nice, civil, respectful discussions on Reddit, so not all hope is lost. Deleted. You know, you're right. What was I thinking? Anyways, I'll see you at work tomorrow. I had a friend in university who was a world-class high school debater. Over meals, she liked to pick a ridiculous proposition and then talk circles around people until they had to concede to her point, no matter how absurd. When she tried it with me, I just stonewalled her. Met every point with a solid "I don't think that's true," or "that doesn't make sense." Eventually she gave up and never tried it with me again. It was the only time I've ever used the tactics of the stupid to win an argument. But, to be fair, if you're not arguing with me in good faith, I feel no obligation to respond in good faith. Not my story, but once my friend A, was having a friendly, turn sour, debate with another friend B, about how sometimes people just don't have a choice, in the context of, they can't just choose to live a frivolous life because of their family background, etc. Friend A proceeds to say, "What about starving children born in Africa? It's not like they had a choice." To which friend B answered, "WHO asked them to be born in Africa? Just don't be born there." That's when we knew : I'm glad I decided to be born in a first world country. I thought I had a no-lose argument going up against someone who believes in homeopathy. I left the discussion feeling like I lost somehow. Edit. Appreciate all the comments. Some very funny replies. Just a quick clarification. I was specifically referring to homeopathic dilutions as far as the argument discussion went. I felt like I lost because I was dumbfounded by their argument and realized quickly that it was a belief system that I was up against and didn't want to waste either of our time. The person being a naturopath that my wife used to go to. They had obviously had this argument many times and had various convoluted responses to all your standard points. Essentially, they had more experience in this argument than me. Thankfully, that interaction resulted in my kids no longer having to take so much medicine, which was my main issue because I could see that it was eroding their confidence. Sure, it's just water so it can't do any harm, right? Wrong. It meant every time they saw the naturopath they would come home with a whole new set of ailments and the eventual thinking of what is wrong with me. There was never anything wrong with them. I always ask why the remedies have the memory of almonds or whatever and not the memory of raw sewage. Removed. It must be so tiring, being her. People who tell me they feel like something is or isn't illegal, when I know they're wrong but insist they know what they are talking about. For the record, I'm not a lawyer yet, but I'm about to start my final year of law school, and my undergrad is in legal studies. In one particular instance, I took a very specialized course that taught drone law. The person I was this with kept telling me I was wrong because they felt like. Edited for clarity. Just wait till you have your bar license. I get called an idiot by Redditors all the time for explaining things that are literally in my practice area. Like I am literally a legal expert on these things, but sure, tell me I'm a basement dwelling dweeb who can't read. I asked a representative from the friend of the court to explain something she said and she told me that I understood what she was saying. I replied that I wouldn't have asked her to explain if I had understood. She said if I was going to be difficult, she would hold me in contempt. My ex chimed in that she didn't quite understand what she had said and was greeted with a smile and an explanation. From that point on I always disagreed with the friend of the court on everything, so that I could be seen by the actual court and a judge. I had a co-worker for a few years. I tried to give him advice on doing a job that I had been doing for years. He repeatedly told me he didn't appreciate my advice, that he had won awards in his past job and to stay in my lane. Finally we did a project together and he admitted that I really did know what I was talking about and he actually thanked me. But he continued to gaslight people and be a narcissist. I had the same discussion with someone at my job whom had been there for 2 weeks versus my 5 years at the time. I finally conceded by saying, maybe you're right. You've already been here for 2 weeks now. I've only been here for 5 years. You gotta know more than I do by now. My brother-in-law loves to have debates where he just wants to hear himself talk to make himself feel smarter. His arguments include "I haven't heard of that before, so it must not be true," and pulling argument points from YouTube videos on the topic because he doesn't read. Why would I when I can get the info faster from a video? He sprays paint as his career and has never been to college but took calculus in high school, and that is his proof he is smarter than everyone else. When it is brought up, all he says is, "Oh yeah, I remember calculus, it is as easy." What is it about? You know. Calculus. Easy stuff. I stopped engaging him on his debates when he just claimed everything was a government job and everything was fake news. Didn't see it on YouTube. Deleted. Trying to get an old person to understand new technology when they have already decided against using it. My grandmother refused to use the stacking washer dryer in her retirement apartment because it was too complicated. Same buttons as the one at her previous home, just in a slightly different place. I have a coworker who pretends he doesn't know how to use a mouse. I straight up told him that he's just decided he can't use it, but I know that he can. He was quiet after that. My mom complaining how my generation wouldn't know how to do anything if it wasn't posted on the internet. I simply responded, well, what else is that generation supposed to do when the generation that raised them didn't teach them how to do anything? Keep in mind this while I'm moving files from her old Windows 8 laptop to her new Windows 10 for her via flash drive. She can't figure it out because Windows 10 is totally different. Obviously, it's not. Also, older people's houses are full of books about stuff. How to use your router. Plumbing for dummies. You are not born knowing how to do everything. The internet, for all its flaws, is really good for learning one-off skills for free. When I was a child, a teacher argued with me about how my name is pronounced. Some sports guy had a first name that was spelled the same as my surname, and I guess that was the only acceptable pronunciation regardless of what little 10-year-old me tried to tell her. When I was in high school, I was super into making constructed languages. I spent a lot of time working on them, though I never finished any. One day I went to school, and I showed a friend the writing system I had been working on, which used a system where every possible consonant-vowel pairing had its own symbol, which, mind you, is a fairly common way of writing that's used across the world. Japanese, lots of languages in the Indian subcontinent, etc. This guy said this kind of writing system was too confusing and I should use something else. So I told him what I just told y'all, that this style of writing is common across the world, and gave the India example. He tells me that apparently the writing systems used in the Indian subcontinent is the reason it's so terrible and why everyone there is quote shitting in the streets unquote. I was baffled. I gave the Japan example, and he told me that apparently the only reason Japan is where it is now is because of American occupants in the 20th century. I was honestly so baffled at his racism I couldn't even say anything else, so I did the smartest thing and dropped the conversation. Someone posted an article that provided direct evidence against what he was claiming. Pointed it out and he said I didn't know it was in that article or I wouldn't have used that one. I'm a medical doctor, and someone on Reddit was saying that a particular medication, for condition A, should never be used off-label, for condition B. I use this medication for B. See it prescribed all the time for condition B and there are papers supporting its off-label use. Redditor gets angry, calls out anyone using the medication as wild, crazy, and irresponsible, so I retorted by submitting a citation for the paper that says it is safe. I post a conclusion statement from the article that literally says in conclusion, this medication is safe and totally fine to take for condition B. Instead of saying oh, okay, thanks, he takes one word out of the article, calls me the dumbest guy on the planet, extrapolates from the one word that the drug is dangerous, deadly, and is back on his "you're all idiots if you take this drug." I wanted to argue the point again, but realized now was the time to pull the plug. It's pointless. Okay, this'll get buried, but it was and still is hilarious to me. Why, back in the day I was a bill collector for travel trailers and mobile homes. This woman had promised to mail her check for the payment, and lo and behold it doesn't appear. So I call her, and reference back to our prior conversation. I say, you promised you'd mail this to me, and it never arrived. This wasn't particularly contentious. It more along the lines of, I thought we had an agreement and now I'm disappointed. So this woman, who was probably 30, really dumb and kinda country, says to me I did mail it. But the post office figured out that I didn't have enough money and sent it back to me so it wouldn't bounce. My sarcastic reply, I don't understand how that could happen. She responds, completely sincere, I don't understand it either. Literally wordless after that one. QWERTY. Flat earthers. This is the best answer. They used science to try and prove it's flat, but the math came back as curved and they still didn't believe it. Arguing with a flat earther when they've watched 100s of videos about it and you're not a physicist or geologist. Trust me, being a geologist doesn't help either. I grew up Jewish in Oklahoma. I ran into this a lot. Had a classmate in middle school try to convince me that Christianity predates Judaism. I told him, but Jesus was Jewish. His response, exactly. No irony. Totally genuine. Conversation over. Deleted. I work at a club where the bouncer gives you a card when you enter. The card has multiple lines with squares on it, each one being a different drink, vodka, gin, tequila, etc. And the barman just make an X on the drinks you order. All mixers are free except Red Bull. At the top of the card there's a line that reads Red Bull Mix. It's also the cheapest thing on the card. I've had a customer order a Red Bull Mix and literally argue with me for about 10 minutes demanding that I serve it while I calmly explain to them that line is only a mixer and they actually have to order something else. They eventually asked for a manager that just told me to mark it and serve them a shot of Red Bull. The look on the customer was priceless. They were as pleased they won the argument as they were disappointed paying €50 for a sip of Red Bull.